Chapter 11. The Breaking Point. Clara returned home exhausted, overwhelmed, and suddenly unsure. The walk back from the forgotten village had felt longer than usual, each step heavy with the weight of everything she had learned. The sketch of Lila, the Tidekeeper's story, the compass she had found at Moonlit Bay. Each piece of the puzzle only seemed to reveal how many pieces were still missing. Every clue led to another question. Every discovery revealed another mystery. Every step forward felt like 2 steps back. By the time she reached her small cottage, the sky had darkened into a deep indigo, the first stars flickering like hesitant promises. She set her bag down on the table, but the room felt too small, too quiet, too full of her own thoughts. She couldn't stay inside. She slipped back out and walked toward the beach. The shoreline was empty, save for the moon casting a silver path across the water. Clara sank into the cool sand, pulling her knees to her chest. The waves rolled in and out with steady rhythm, but tonight their sound felt less like comfort and more like a question she couldn't answer. "What am I doing?" she whispered into the wind. Her voice sounded fragile, swallowed almost instantly by the vastness around her. For the first time since finding the bottle, doubt crept in, slow, insidious, like a tide rising without warning. Maybe she would never find the truth. Maybe Elias and Lila's story was meant to remain unfinished. Maybe she was chasing ghosts. She pressed her palms into the sand, grounding herself, but the ache in her chest only deepened. She had thrown herself into this search with a determination she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. It had given her purpose, direction, something to hold on to when everything else felt like it was slipping away. But now she wasn't sure if she was strong enough to keep going. A wave crashed, spraying her with cold mist. She gasped softly, startled by the sudden chill. The sea breeze whipped her hair across her face, and she closed her eyes, letting the salt sting her skin. And suddenly, a memory surfaced. Ben laughing as he splashed her with seawater. Ben daring her to race him to the rocks. Ben telling her with that mischievous grin of his, "You always give up right before the miracle happens." Her breath hitched. She opened her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks before she even realized she was crying. The memory was so vivid, so alive, that for a moment she could almost hear his voice carried on the wind. She wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand, but the tears kept coming, quiet, steady, unstoppable. She wasn't just grieving Elias and Lila's story. She was grieving her own. The life she had lost. The brother she would never see again. The version of herself that had vanished the day he died. She wasn't just searching for Elias and Lila. She was searching for herself. And she wasn't ready to stop. Clara drew a shaky breath and looked out at the horizon. The moon hung low, casting a soft glow over the waves. It reminded her of the promise Elias had made to Lila. The promise to return when the moon was at its fullest. A promise he had tried to keep even when the world tore him away. If he hadn't given up, how could she? She reached into her pocket and pulled out the compass she had found at Moonlit Bay. The metal was cold against her palm, the needle still frozen in place. She turned it over slowly, tracing the worn edges with her thumb. "This meant something to him," she murmured. "And this story, it means something to me." She closed her fingers around the compass, holding it tightly as though it could anchor her to her purpose. The waves continued their steady rhythm, and slowly the tightness in her chest began to ease. She let the sound wash over her, let the night air cool her flushed cheeks, let the memory of Ben settle gently instead of painfully. She wasn't alone, not truly. He carried Ben with her. He carried Elias and Lila. She carried every piece of the story she had uncovered. And she carried the strength to keep going. Clara rose to her feet, brushing sand from her clothes. The night felt different now, still heavy, still uncertain, but no longer suffocating. She looked toward the cliffs in the distance, where Moonlit Bay lay hidden in its crescent embrace. There was more to uncover. More to understand. More to heal. She turned toward home, her steps steadier than before. Tomorrow she would return to the lighthouse. Tomorrow she would follow the clues she had left waiting. Tomorrow she would continue the journey she had begun, not just for Elias and Lila but for herself. For the first time in a long while, Clara felt something stir inside her. Not certainty. Not clarity. But resolve. And that was enough.